Hey, goddesses. I was going to say sexy goddesses, so I'll go ahead and say that. Hey, sexy goddesses. How are y'all
We
doing? It's so
got
good to
it.
see you guys. Okay, so we're in this interesting transition week this week because we are entering into the portal of, or the Temple of Warriors, your power energy channel, which in like the chakra tradition or the yoga tradition is the sacral chakra. So that's what we're going to be getting into. And we're coming
Solar
out, oh,
plexus.
sorry, no, the solar plexus chakra, and we're coming out of the sacral chakra.
Mhm.
So, as we get into, well, actually, before we even get into the transition, let's just do a quick check in to see how people are doing, what's going on. We didn't meet last week, so let's just do a quick check in and see how folks are doing this week. Who wants to get us started?
Get it started. It's been a good week. Dr. Diva's got some 42 days of liberatory practices that she sent out to us, and I've been working on some of those every day. And so Saturday I did a really nice body scan that actually brought me to tears. I was crying, trying to figure out what my body needed because I woke up like I need to get this done, need this done, and I didn't. I just paused and said, "What does your body need now?" And it was to rest. And so my whole day shifted because of it. And so I had a really, really relaxing day doing what I wanted to do. Went and got my nails done and my feet's done and painted a little bit, gardened a little bit, and then spent the evening with my husband just playing board games and relaxing outside in the back patio, drinking wine and eating off of our little food boards. And so it was a really good weekend, especially as it's been super busy with graduations and transitions and things like that. But I've been continuing those practices through the week, and also just trying to stay connected with all my people and reach out to my loved ones and all those good things. So it's been a busy week, but it's been good.
I love it. I love that you gave a sacred yes to the 42-day challenge with Dr. Diva. And I love that you did that, just that body scan practice where you're just reflecting on like what does your body want and what does it need and giving it what it needs. I know in the past we've talked about like it's like, okay, I know this is colonialism and white supremacy, but sometimes there's you described feeling like you needed to earn rest or like rest is this treat. So I love that you had this moment of doing this body scan and like, okay, my body needs rest and giving your body what you need. So that's beautiful. And congratulations
Mhm.
on all the amazing graduation celebrations that have been happening.
Thank
Double
you. Thank you.
graduations.
Yes,
Lot.
yes.
Hmm.
And how about you, Dr. Diva? Do you want to share about your 42-day liberatory practices,
Sure.
Afro maximalist magic
It's
situation?
definitely been maximalist. So my birthday is now 5 weeks away, but starting last Friday was the last 42 days of me being 42 years old. And so, Black people always like to put names on their birthday. So 42 is my Jackie Robinson year. And so I wanted to do this at the beginning of the year, but I started the year off with my first and hopefully last episode of COVID. I got COVID from Lil Wayne at Essence Fest. Just kidding, before Lil Wayne tried to sue me. But I got COVID at Essence. That's the whole. And so I didn't start at the beginning of the year, and then life, and then next thing you know, like I'm already about to be 43 years old. So I thought it was a good way to kind of wrap up the year by honoring Jackie Robinson. So most of us know Jackie Robinson for breaking the color barrier, being this elite baseball player. But what some people don't realize is that he got diabetes when he was 35 years old and had like 3 heart attacks and died in his early 50s. And despite being this elite athlete who trained and exercised, right, he had the body of an old man because, and many postulate now that it was the impact of racism on his health. And so I've been reflecting on me. I'm not an elite athlete, but I'm definitely an elite in my field and at the top
Everything
of my
else, yeah.
game, and breaking barriers as the first black first woman and black person with tenure in my emergency department, and just reflecting on the ways that racism has impacted my health and the way it's methylating my DNA and shortening my telomeres and expanding my waistline. So how could I honor Jackie Robinson, honor the ancestors, and honor myself by just kind of ending this year and going into the next year and the next decade and the next 40 years, by just honoring myself and what my body needs. And I think going through this African goddess initiation has kind of helped prepare for that. So this first week was really focused on embodiment. And this is something that has been hard for me, I think, because when you're in the medical profession, we are trained to ignore all of our body's needs, right? Like we have to work 30-hour shifts. And so who cares if you're tired? Who cares if you're hungry? Who cares if you have to pee, right? Like you just need to focus on taking care of these patients and working for 30 hours, and then having fibroids and like all the pain that I had to ignore, being anemic and like showing up to work. And so this has been an invitation for me to try to like step back into my body. And it's a process. It's been a journey. So I too have been doing those body scans, and it has been beautiful just taking the time to listen to my body because I've ignored her so much. And a lot of her needs have been like, you need to rest, and you need to clean your room so that we can feel good when we're resting at night, and those little things. But the reprogramming is like so real. It's little things. Like I was working on notes the other day. Right, you Trina, those notes are the bane of my existence, right? I had like 67 notes in my basket. So I'm working on notes and I had to pee, but I was like, okay, just get through these next 5 notes and then you could like take a break, go pee and go get something to drink. And so because of this process, I'm like, why do I have to get through another 5 notes before I have to go pee? Right? Like you have like just like take care of your body. Like go pee now, go get some water, and then you can come back and do notes, right? So it's just like those little things that we are like I am constantly doing, just like ignoring my body's needs and putting work first and like pushing through, that I've been kind of trying to reprogram myself that like no, you don't have to push through. It's okay to take care of your body. And some of the messages that we've gotten from the previous goddesses, like it feels good to feel good and like do things that are going to help make your body feel good. So that's what I've been focusing on all this week. And I'm tired and I'm looking forward to like a real good pause over a couple of scheduled pauses over the summer to continue to get my life together. Yeah, this has been going on with me. What
I
about you,
love it.
Professor K, with the red lip and the red afro
Listen, I
wig?
got these
Looking good.
particularly to go with the red lip. I was like, yes, I need red earrings to go with my red lip. And I figured they would pop against the black and white
They
top.
definitely are popping.
Thank you. So I love these reflections. I mean, I love that you came up with something that is tailored to you and your Afro maximalist qualities and characteristics. And I love that both of you reflected again on connecting to the need and desire for rest and giving yourself that rest instead of feeling like you need to earn it. And I love this example because I often give this example when I'm doing workshops on like erotic empowerment or pleasure principle stuff. It's like we are so disembodied. And then also like I mean, I think in general, but especially for like academics and stuff like that. And I think it's so ironic that in the medical profession, there's such a disconnection from the body. But a lot of times we operate like from the head up. We're in our head all the time and very disconnected from our bodies. And I talk about how for me, like you would think after 4 births, I would be connected to my body. Like I could theorize Black women's embodiment, but it really took me doing like yoga teacher training and those kinds of things to really learn how to like be with and connected to and pay attention to my body. So I love the description of both like identifying that your body needs rest and giving your body that rest, identifying how you're in a profession that discourages you from actually doing that, and then identifying like the simple but profound examples of like when you need to pee, like those are the examples I give, like, okay, when you need to pee, like pee, when you need to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom, when you're thirsty, drink some water, when you're hungry, eat something. But I think again, we're so accustomed to and socialized to, because I don't think this is some innate thing. I think, women, especially women of color, especially Black women, are socialized to self-sacrifice and martyr and put everybody else ahead of ourselves and meet our needs last if our needs are ever met and are ever met. And that's from anything from like being able to eat or buying ourselves clothes to things like when you have to go to the bathroom or when you have to shower, right? Like it's always like when the mom of the infant, like she goes a week without showering, but she's making sure that the baby is fed and clothed and changed and all those kinds of things. So there are just so many things in our environment that encourage us to be disembodied and to not pay attention to what our needs are. And so it requires a level of intention and practice to reconnect to our bodies and prioritize like the most basic of needs, let alone pleasure principles, pleasure needs. So yeah, I love that. In terms, oh, I should say my third born is here now, so there may be a cameo appearance. He's shirtless now. I'm on camera with Auntie Tiff and one of Auntie Tiff's friends. This is a video that is going on YouTube. So, of course. So if you want to make a cameo appearance, you can. Get taken down. Okay. He said he doesn't want it to get taken down. You can't show guns on YouTube. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and they thems, is just a sampling of the energy of the third born who's in the house. Are you gonna do a high five in the thing, or are you just gonna let the voice be heard? They don't let you show guns, Mom. They don't let you show guns. He said he's out here, you know.
We don't
So
want the
that's
gun show. We don't want the gun show.
they're not ready. They're not ready. So yeah, so I have my third born and my fourth born here. So that's been pretty smooth. Like I feel like it's been like last summer was the first summer, and then this time is the second time, and I feel like we have a good balance of like organized activities and chill time. So that's been good. I've been posting all the Substack essays.
Listen, you have been spilling all
All
the
the
tea in June. It's June tea month, not Juneteenth. It's June
I
tea.
love it. I
Are
love it.
serving it piping hot.
Listen, and that has been a joy and a pleasure to just express and you know just get stuff out there and do it with the intention again of like I know other high achieving Black women with similar experiences can see themselves in that and feel seen and heard and affirmed. And so I've been getting a lot of both public and private messages around that. So it's doing what I intended to do. So that's been really beautiful. So yeah, that's what's happening.
Don't tease us with a good time now. What are some of the topics that have come up?
So the
in
topics,
Substack?
these last couple of ones have been all focused on like happily unmarried stuff. So I started, and I did a couple of YouTube videos on this as well. So I started with like the why did I get married? I did like I was doing stuff on mothering for a while. So it was just like, you know, why did I have four kids? That kind of stuff. So it's like, why did I get married? The last couple of ones was, oh, I did
got
one.
crazy on a Monday morning.
Yes, yes. So hold up. Well, before that, when I did I did a very fun one, which was He Wasn't Man Enough for Me, why Tony Braxton songs was one of my theme songs for my happily unmarried journey. So I did one on that. Then recently I did Things Got Crazy on a Monday, which I thought about you, Tiff, because I remember when it actually happened and we talked about it, and Tiffany was joking like, "Oh, this is a story right here. Things got crazy on a Monday." So I retained that title from our conversation about
I
this
remember sitting
years
in my
ago.
condo in Philly. That was before I bought my house and having this, and I was like, "Woo, things got crazy on a Monday." So when I saw that pop up as the title of your Substack,
You're like, I know exactly what that one's about.
exactly.
Yeah, so I kept that title just for you because I was like, this is the title me and Tiff talked about for that. So that was that one. And then after that one, I did one on oh, why you bringing up old stuff? Because that was like the refrain always of like whether old stuff was 2 hours ago or 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago or 2 decades ago. Why you always gotta bring up old stuff. And then I integrated that with Audre Lorde, your silence will not protect you, and why I'm choosing to speak out about a lot of things that happened, even though they happened a long time ago. So that's been very like, you know, I'm into the bibliothèque. Oh, and then I also talked about reading The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukav and how that kind of awakened some things in me around this as well. So yeah, so that's been good to do like short intentional pieces that speak to certain kinds of experiences that I think are resonating with folks. So that's been really good.
How has it felt like reliving that and purging yourself of that? And what's been coming up for you?
You know, it hasn't felt like a reliving, which I think is maybe part of the gift of the time that has passed and just all of the work that I've done around it. So it hasn't felt like revisiting an old wound. It's like, oh, this is something that has healed that I can like speak about without it being bringing up all of this like hurtful emotion or, you know, things like that. There are times when I read some of my old journals where I like the emotion on the page of me journaling about it in the moment is really powerful. But me talking about it in this way hasn't been like, it hasn't brought up a lot of emotion for me. Like I can kind of, it's almost like the observer, you know, I'm the spectator, not the actor in it now, where I'm just like, oh, isn't that interesting at that? Like, can you believe that's where I was at that at that time? So I can like have gratitude for where I've come, how far I've come since then, but also have compassion for like who I was and where I was in a moment and how I was dealing with things in a moment. And I can look back and be like, oh, like my 46-year-old self would do something very different than like my 21-year-old self or my 30-something-year-old self. So that's been, but so thank you for that question. Yeah, it hasn't been like reliving like
Mhm.
some horrible thing. It's just been like, oh, wow, that really happened. Like, really went down like that, and oh, it feels so good to be on the other side of it. So that's mostly, it's been relief, like, oh, this has been like, I always say my quality of life has increased tremendously on the other side of those decisions. And
Mhm.
so I have been able to really, like, I've had several years to live into that at this point, and so that really feels good as well. Yeah.
Mhm. Dropping that 200-pound extra weight is
Listen, listen, seriously.
Mhm.
And it's only gotten better. And the gift of
Yeah.
that too, and I've talked about this even with like exiting academia, I think because I was so connected to like my body and my emotions and just that process of the happily unmarried process, like I could recognize the emotions and the embodied feelings when I knew it was time to leave the academy. I was like, oh, this is a familiar thing because I experienced it when I exited another like institution of bondage, right? And so I was able to, it just gave me a kind of playbook and a blueprint for extracting myself from the academy in a similar way that I was able to extract myself from the
Yeah.
marriage. So that was a gift insofar as like, oh, I know I can do hard but necessary things, and I have like the tools and the resources available to like get through them and kind of recover more quickly from them, and know that the other side, like really, I think a lot of times it's just a fear of like what's going to happen next or can I handle whatever comes up. And it's just like at this point, I've dealt with enough stuff that I know I can handle whatever happens. So that's been a real gift for sure. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Any other check-ins before we get into this Temple of the Warrior? Speaking of, this is very on point for Warrior Temple, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, two of the refrains from this one that I really love is one is I have nothing to prove. And I think that has also been the energy of sharing. Like, I don't have anything to prove to anybody. I don't feel like I got to explain anything to anybody. Like, I know who my target audience is, and I'm speaking really directly and explicitly to my target audience. And of course, I'm unfuckwithable. So those two things, I was like, yes and yes. So how about you guys? What came up for y'all, if anything, around those two points of emphasis?
I also, here also, I have highlighted in my notes in my journal, I have nothing to prove and I am unfuckwithable. Like those were definitely important points. And so I think what was helpful for me was I see myself as a warrior, and I identify as a warrior, and we are like a little bit like, all my life I had to fight. So I love this reframing of the warrior about, like the warrior energy is about like standing confidently in your power. And just because you're a warrior, you don't have to constantly have to fight. And so it kind of reminded me of this, like we are always, oh, not we, let me use I statements. I feel like I am often in this like fight, flight, or freeze state, just with everything that's going on in the world or like what I have to deal with at work. And this was just a reminder that you, like, just because you're a warrior, you don't always have to fight. And sometimes just like standing in your confidence and knowing who you are. So I really appreciated that reframing of the warrior woman in this threshold.
I love this. So for people who are watching, let us know in the comments if that resonates with you. This notion of all my life I had to fight, of course, is the Sophia line from The Color Purple, but feeling like you're always in fight, flight, or freeze mode. If you have experiences with that or if that resonates with you, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, Dr.
Mhm.
Diva.
Taking that
Uh,
armor off.
Taking off the armor, yeah. So, so being a warrior not only as always being in the mode of fighting or having to defend oneself.
Hmm.
How about you, Ed Flo?
Yeah, I think that was what resonated most with me out of all of it was I think when I think of warrior, the same. It's
Hmm.
fighting, it's always being on. And so just reading about one of the history of the Dahomey women and been always being warriors and then her saying, but that's not who we are. Like that's not who you are, right?
Right.
You don't have to hold, guard all the time. And so it was a good reminder. It's not something that like I don't already know. And also we still hold, at least I still hold, right, like this, like ready for anything, you don't got to get ready because you always stay ready mantra. I appreciated that. Interestingly enough, I feel like, gosh, just this past weekend, oh yes, I was doing couple cards. Me and my husband were doing these cards, thanks to Tiff. The little cards you got me for, I think it was for Christmas. But they're little cards you pull, and then you answer the questions. Like you pull it and you both exchange the answer. Then one of them was around what you have to prove to someone, and like, do you feel comfortable like not giving a shit that people don't like you? And Ryan was like, I already know your answer. You don't give a fuck. And I was like, like, yes. And sometimes that's smoke and mirrors, right? Like, especially coming off of, I was keynoting on Friday. It's keynote season, is if you're going to conferences, and I've been doing a few of them, making my rounds across California. And I leave those often feeling somewhat raw because I'm sharing, personal things as well. It's not, you want to connect with folks, and there's parts of you that you're personally sharing. And so there's times where I'm like, did I share too much? Did I not share enough? Did I sound like, did I lead with ego? And so I think, one, it's good for me to do those kinds of checks after walking off of a space where I'm hopefully leaving people inspired or encouraged to do something differently with how they're moving. And some of it weighs, like, and that's me feeling like I have something to prove, right? Like, at times I can connect it there. So I was like, not exactly. And that's still work that I have to do. And so I think it's, for me, I'm finding like the balance between, I have nothing to prove, and also don't want to lean into that so much that my ego doesn't is not checked, if that makes, I don't know if that makes sense, but just mindful of both.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate those reflections. And I love the moment of honest communication with a partner of like, there's this assumption that's being made, and let me like have this moment of vulnerability. Like, no, it's not always that. This is also a thing. So I appreciate that. Were you gonna say something, Tiff? No. Okay, let's get in. So about the Temple of the Warriors, and this is connected to actually what both of you guys were just saying, related to like being able to put the armor down and also standing in your power. And standing in your power doesn't have to be like being armored all the time. So she talks about standing confidently in your true power. Stop being at war all the time. If you are truly powerful, you have no need to fight nonstop. You have nothing to prove. And so this is on page 118. Again, our book is African Goddess Initiation. So that's on page 118.
But even
Um,
before we get to that,
mhm.
I don't want to gloss over or let our viewers miss the blessing of the warriors that it
Oh,
starts
yes.
off with.
Mhm.
So I really love this blessing. So it's blessing of the warriors, goddess of many names. Thank you for the pathway to the divine. As you stand before the goddess of warriors, ready to awaken your power, may you one day be able to relinquish your sword and your shield. You don't need them for true battles. May you stand in your own truth. May you know that you are worthy. You deserve happiness, laughter, and pleasure. You deserve to feel good in your skin. May you have the power to protect those who need protecting. May you exist on the side of justice. May you be vulnerable enough to believe in you. May you realize your own power. This is the true victory. May these blessings be with you always. Let the circle be unbroken and infinite. So I really like that opening, which ties into some of those things that we've highlighted around,
Mhm.
that you don't have to fight all the time. But this blessing of the warriors, it's not the blessing that I would expect for a blessing of the warriors, but I think it is the blessing that as a warrior I needed. So I just wanted to share that for those who are listening who might need that blessing as well.
That's beautiful. Ebony, did you want to say anything about that, about the blessings?
Yeah, no, I appreciate Tiff, you reading that, and also just the connection to the solar plexus. Like, right, if we're thinking about this being that power energy channel, and that is our like core and confidence center, right? And so it makes sense that, right, but I don't also always connect warrior with solar plexus, right?
Right.
So I can see what, when you say that, like, that you wouldn't necessarily see it, but some of the words in there about being vulnerable enough to believe in you and realizing your own power all connects to that core solar plexus around the confidence and the belief that we can carry through and do things. And I also see that connection to that strong warrior spirit, because to be able to stand in our warrior goddess energy, we need to believe in ourselves too. So
I love it. Were you gonna say something too?
No, I was just pulling up my notes from 2015 from when I went to in I think that was Body Holiday, where I
Yes.
first got introduced to the chakra. So around 2015, that's just what is in my notes page when I was taking these notes on doing this, but it might have even been before then.
Hmm.
I was living in Philly, and I wanted to travel, but didn't always have somebody to travel with. And so the Body Holiday was like one of my first international trips that I took by myself. And the Body Holiday is in St. Lucia, and they have different types of meditation that you can try. And so I remember the first meditation session I went to, and we're like, take a big breath and know that there's enough air to last you a lifetime. And I remember, like, I was just sitting there like, is it just enough air to last me a lifetime? But what about a lifetime for the generations who are coming after us? And like, like I couldn't get into that meditation space. And so we tried all these different types of meditation. And then one day they had chakra meditation. And I'm like, oh, this is my jam, right? Because you have to focus on like what parts of the body the chakra represents and what parts energetically the chakra represents. And then there was a color, and then there was a mantra. And I was like, oh, this is a multitasker's meditation. And so I really love it. And that's when I like first got into the chakras, was through that experience. And so as I was getting into this temple of the warriors, I was like pulling up my notes on the solar plexus. So looking at that, the solar plexus is your fire. This is the power center, and it controls your ability to adapt, transform, change, and grow. It's the fire in your belly that helps put thoughts and dreams into action. Fire represents the human need to be acknowledged as a unique individual. Balance in the chakra helps the stomach, the pancreas, the adrenals, the small intestines, liver, gallbladder, middle spine. And it also um, let's see. Balancing the chakra can give you a sense of personal worth that equips you to avoid excess and respect boundaries so that you can enjoy challenges without being a workaholic. The chakra opens the door for energy to be released to the heart chakra. And so I was just thinking about that and looking at these notes as we're talking and thinking about this phase of my life that I'm in, where I'm like, what I'm doing doesn't align. And so I just love this intention that we're going to have over the next couple of weeks, including tapping into my favorite personal goddess Oya next week, and thinking about this opportunity that things don't align and I don't have to stay on this path just because it's the path that I'm on, but I have the power to adapt and to transform and to change and to grow. And so so I'm excited about all these things.
I love this. And I know you recently practiced this. And this goes back to like again the peeing example of like going to the bathroom. You have to go to the bathroom with something's little, but when like it's an important habit to build for other bigger things. And so I'm thinking about that workshop that you and I signed up for, where you got like we paid for it, you got on, and it was like some group work, and then some dude came up in there and you were like, yeah, this is a no for me. Like I don't want to be in this space with this dude. I don't want to do group work. And you logged off. You weren't like, well, I got to get my money's worth, or well, I signed on, so I got to stay on. You were like, this doesn't feel good for me, so I'm going to take care of myself and I'm going to get off. And so I love that for you. And then I had a similar moment to this yesterday when I was texting you. So there was this woman that I met at this business mixer here. And she was all like nice, all this kind of stuff. We exchanged numbers, I'm still meeting people, building community. And so she's like, oh, she texts me like, oh, there's this networking event that I want to invite you to. So I'm like, I met her at a business mixer. I'm assuming it's like a similar kind of thing, like a business mixer. But then as I was getting ready to go, I'm realizing like I didn't ask any follow-up questions. Again, I made this assumption. And I just had this feeling like something feels a little off. So I text Tiff, I'm like, okay, here's the
Here's my
picture of where I'm
location.
going. I was like, here's a picture of where I'm going. Here's a picture of the person who invited me. Here's a picture of what I have on right now in case they try to like sex traffic me or something. But then I was like thinking, so that was like the extreme of like, am I walking into an ambush? But then the other thing was like, it felt like I just had a sense like it's gonna be some kind of
But
they're trying
even
to
that alone, right? The fact
pyramid.
The fact that I was reflecting on is like the fact that before you even got there, like this was a yes, you're like, I'm gonna go to this thing, but then going like your gut was telling
Yeah,
you
my gut was like
something was
something's kind of
off.
off, but I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, let me see. So I get there and it's basically some kind of multi-level marketing scheme kind of
Pyramid
thing,
scheme.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm there for like 5 minutes and I was like, yeah, this is a no for me. So I just walk out. And so I see her on my way out. And so she was like, and I was like, yeah, this isn't a line for me. But I felt some kind of way because I'm like, it was a bait and switch. You could have said, I'm doing this thing and would you be interested? But like, don't frame it in this general, it's a networking event to
Mhm.
pull people out like under, like it felt like it was done under false pretenses.
Yeah.
So, so on the one hand, yeah, I probably should have just not done it, period, when I was concerned about being sex trafficked and going anyway. And I'm glad I didn't feel obligated to sit there through some foolishness because, like, I was like, this is
Word.
about to be some BS. And so I walked out and reclaimed my time and kept it moving. But it's like, again, intuitively, like, again, that gut, that solar plexus, it was like literally as I was heading up there, I was like, okay, something's feeling, kind of off here. So, yeah.
But even with that, like as you talk about that other thing that I signed up for and left, I think the hardest part for me was it was like a small group and it was this black woman who was doing this thing and I was just like, I want to support this black woman. It's only a couple people on, so if I leave, she's gonna know that I left and I don't want her to feel some type of way. But then at some point I had to like reflect on like, is it more important for her to be seen and for her needs to be met, or is it more important for me to see myself and for my needs to be met? And this is a complete stranger who I don't know, and I've seen her by giving her my money. She's still gonna get my money. I'm not gonna ask for my money back, but it is more it's more harmful for me to stay in this space than to leave this space. And just that invitation that it's okay to choose yourself, which is hard for black women and femmes sometimes. Yeah,
And
take these
on this,
moments to do it.
yeah. And I want to jump a little bit further into this chapter, and then we can kind of come back to because there's a definition of unfuckwithable that I want to get into. But
Mhm.
like a little like the penultimate page of this chapter on page 122, she talks about how many of us were taught to be ride or die, loyal to everyone but ourselves. And I think that is, that speaks to that, right? Like it's like we're always trying to show up for other people. And I think it is for me too harder when it's another black woman because I do want to be there for, and it was like this was a black woman that invited me out, right? Like I think if it was anybody else, I'd have just would have not shown up.
Right.
So I think so I love you naming that with both of these examples, and I love her naming like how we are again socialized and encouraged to be loyal to everybody except for ourselves. So she says, when we roll shields up, keeping out all the hurt and pain, impervious to our emotions, we also block the joy, and that's part of the grand design of this Earth School. When you block the pain, you block the pleasure. Being a goddess warrior is about being strong enough just to be. So again, showing up for ourselves, not abandoning ourselves for other people, and not blocking out the pain so much that you don't let in the pleasure, but then also paying attention to when there is pain so that, it's like you have to be present to the pain as well as to the pleasure. So yeah. Okay, anything else on that before we go to this definition of unfuckwithable? I think I just want to keep saying that word.
Drinking game. Take a sip every time Professor K says I'm unfuckwithable.
I love that our drinks are like tea and water and probably your special juices that you've been making.
Listen, these juices been juicing.
Okay, so here we go. Unfuckwithable. Adjective. Everybody take a sip.
We did.
To be so aligned with your own divinity and so in love with yourself that you experience complete self-acceptance. I love this emphasis on self-acceptance and are not affected by other people's opinions of you. So what did you guys think about that definition of it? Did that resonate? Is there anything you would add or take away?
I don't think there's anything I would take away. Oh, go ahead, Tiff. Yeah. Yeah, I love that and being so completely in love with yourself. I think that was what resonated with me because I am so in love with myself.
Yeah, you are.
We're in love.
As you should be. Yes.
I was like, oh, that's me.
No, I love this.
But you know what?
Yeah.
I agree, Ebony, that you are so in love with yourself. in like the best possible way, and that
Yeah.
radiates out of you. Like it radiates in your smile and in just like the way that you carry yourself. And so may we all be like so in love with ourselves that we just radiate that goddess energy. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Well, I think the other part of that too is that that is so attractive
Mm,
that it requires maintaining boundaries so that people aren't just siphoning off that energy, right? Because I think there's
Oh,
something
that's
like there's
true.
something that's so attractive about like I've had people literally say to me like I want to tap into your connection to the divine.
mm-mm.
And
Yeah,
it's just
same.
like you need your own connection to the divine. You don't get to
Exactly.
siphon off
Yeah.
mine. And so it's
Exactly.
interesting, but I do appreciate that people disclose. Like I'm in this era where, and I don't know if it's always been this case, but I just wasn't paying enough attention. But I feel like I'm in the when people show you who they are, believe them the
Yes.
first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, it's like within 5 minutes or one or two encounters that I'm like, thank you for revealing yourself to me so quickly so that I can move on. And again, this is both like romantic and platonic like
Right.
social and casual
For
interactions where I'm like,
sure.
oh, that was so helpful to know that so quickly about you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I love this definition. I definitely wouldn't take anything away. I am trying to think about what else would I add. Would you add anything to it, Professor K?
Mm, I mean, for me, it's like another way of saying like a more titillating way of saying like unbothered. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But I do like the alignment with the divine. I do like being in love with oneself. I do like the emphasis on self-acceptance because I think that's a large part of it. Like when you accept yourself, then you can be unbothered about what other people don't accept about you because they don't have to because you already accepted about yourself. So I love those kind of three things of like align with the divine, self-love, and self-acceptance. And that's what empowers you to not be to succumb to what other people are thinking about you. And then when you can do your own, like I think we do tend to be oriented, there's a kind of baseline morals and ethics and values that we have where we're constantly self-assessing against our own value system, right? And
Right.
so like even what Ebony was talking about coming out of a keynote, it's like you're checking yourself for like you're not like what necessarily did other people think about that, but you're checking your own motives and how you showed up into that space and how you might shift that. And I think that's different from what did everybody else think about what I said. And it's more like, okay, were my intentions aligned with, or was how I showed up aligned with what my intentions or what my values are and those kinds of things.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think the other thing for me is definitely like the epitome of being unbothered, but also like the no weapon formed against me shall prosper, right? And so knowing that when we are tapped into our divine, there are going to be people who are going to try to come against us, who are going to try to tear us down. But when you are like so strong in who you are and tapped into the divine and focused on your mission and your vision and your purpose and really align, then no matter what they try to do, you're going to stay unfuckwithable.
Listen, literally, because that part of the unfuckwithable is not even about how you feel or don't feel about what other people do, but it's literally like they can't touch you or they can't get to you. Or even if they do, it really is just something to set you up for greater success
Mhm.
later.
Mhm.
So yeah, that is also powerful. I would say for me too, this has definitely been an evolution. And I think for me, there was a time when I felt much more compartmentalized, where I felt like I had to separate things out. Like when I was still married, I felt like I was compartmentalized in a certain kind of way. When I was still in the academy, I felt like I was compartmentalized in a certain kind of way. And so the more I desired like to be able to integrate all of my parts and not have to separate out like how I am in this space versus how I am in that space, there was a liberation that came in like me integrating the different parts of myself so that it didn't matter. It's like either you rolling with me or you're not. But I can definitely remember like right after I got happily unmarried and delightfully divorced. I mean, I'm living in this small college town, predominantly white college town. And I remember, like, of course, we're high achievers. We like setting goals. So I was like maybe 36 when I got divorced or 37. And I was like, okay, I want to go on 40 dates by my 40th birthday,
I
right?
remember that. I was exhausted thinking about that. And I was
Of
like,
course you
woo,
were, Tiffany.
Tiffany felt about my 40 dates the way I felt about the
How about her
42 day
42?
challenge. I was like,
just
it's too much for
overwhelmed.
me. It's too much. So Tiffany's like 30 vegetables a week. Yes. 40 dates over however
I
many
don't want
years.
to
That's
go
a
on
hard
40
no.
dates in my lifetime.
So exactly. So this is where the sisters diverge. So anyway, so I want to go on these dates, but then of course I'm still living in a small college town, so it was like I wasn't dating any, but like so I would get on the dating apps, but because I traveled so much, it's like okay, if I was in Philly, then I would go out in Philly. If I was in Atlanta, I would go out in Atlanta. So I only got on the apps when I was not in state college initially, until I got to a place where it was just like, I mean, there weren't too many people available to date in state college, but I remember right before I left state college, like I had a one night stand with a dude because I knew I was leaving and I would probably never see him again, right? And so it was just like, okay. Let's meet up at this place. Let's, I let him come to my house because I was like, I'm leaving the house and it's being sold after this, you know what I mean? But it was like there was a progression from like when I got happily unmarried to lightly divorced in 2017, and then when I moved out of say college in 2023. So that was like a 6 year period. There was a progression of like me caring less and less about what people around thought about what I was doing and how I was moving and all of that kind of stuff. But I also remember even when I first got when my divorce first became legal, I was in Memphis. We talked about the Memphis person before, but I was in Memphis for a conference, and I was at a philosophy conference. So like a bunch of people from my department was there, like all my philosophy colleagues from like across the country are there. And so I go out with this guy and I'm like concerned about other people seeing me out in public with this person who's not my husband, even though I don't have a husband anymore and all, so it was like I was all in my head about what were people gonna think or how I was gonna be perceived in that like professional space. Whereas now I'm just like I could care less. But part of it is like I don't feel like who gonna check me, boo. I'm more in that mood. But it was definitely an evolution of that for me in terms of like the more comfortable and they get into wild woman here. Like the more I've been able to embrace my wild woman energy and just express that and emote that across the board, the less I care about how people perceive that energy. Yeah.
I love
Wild
that.
Woman came up in this, and I was
It
like,
did.
oh my goodness, because I had my experience with Jacob the Face Reader, who told me that I was meant to be a wild woman, and that I'm
Yeah.
fully embracing it. So when it came to this, and it's like, welcome your inner wild woman. I embrace the wild feminine. I was like, okay, all
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
it's time to unleash her.
Right.
Talking a lot of talk, but.
This
Well, and
time
this
it's
was
overdue.
this is also like
Bring them out. Bring them
anticipatory.
out. Bring
That
them
part.
out.
All of them, all of them.
Yes.
But this was also somewhat anticipating the Temple of the Shadows. Right.
Mm,
So she's bringing up wild woman energy here, but she's also like, we're gonna get more into this with like Medusa and some other people. So I love the naming of that as well.
Yeah, I do
Um,
too. I definitely consider myself a wild woman, and I had conversations with my son, my youngest son, this morning because he's entering the dating world, and there is something about being coupled with a wild woman that is particularly important, and just based off of the few young ladies that I've seen come through my home's threshold, they too are maybe wild women, and
I
so.
wonder why he's attracted to wild women. I
Right.
wonder why that might be.
And so we were just talking about all the celebrations coming up and how important it is to as he's going out and hanging out with them and they're having a good time to really. I was like, there's nothing sexier than letting a wild woman be her wildest self, and you
Mhm.
are there as the supporting character,
Yep.
and that's it, and you know your part, and not in a way that there's disrespect or anything like that happening, but you know that she can be free to be her wildest self, and that you fully supported as the supporting character in her life, or in their life, and so he was like, I got you, because I was like, if you go into this celebration with her and she wilding out, y'all renting an Airbnb and doing all this stuff, well. If she's standing on the table being a wild woman, I don't need you being jealous. There's nothing, so and so I think there is something to not just us leaning into our wild selves, but also making sure those around us know exactly who we are, how we show up, and that we can lean into it with the love and no judgment of the people around us too.
Shout out to the moms raising the sons to support the wild woman energy. Yes. Yes. Okay, so let's get into so we're gonna go back again because the wild woman was more toward the end, but she's talking about no, I'm here for it. Like we this is our thing. We get
All
to
over
jump
the
around as
place.
much as we want to. We get to jump around as much as we want to. But one of the other questions that I thought about here, or she might have asked it explicitly, is like when or how do you seek approval, which I think is different, slightly different from I mean, it's related to the unfuckwithable, but I think it's a slightly different way of asking, like, when and how do you seek approval? So, did you guys reflect on that at all? Like, do you have any reflections on when or how you seek approval in different areas of your life?
Hmm. I'll say I was reflecting on this today in therapy because she was doing like a body scan and asking about things that kind of came up, and this image came up of me like with like walking on coals. And I was like halfway across the coals, and then on the other end were like my mentors and my colleagues and everything, like cheering me on and rooting for me to like continue to just like walk on those coals and make it to the other side. And I was like standing in the middle, like I'm like, it's like this way is like it's equal way going backwards versus going forward. Like, so what do I do? And then she invited me to go in to take care of myself. And then I rolled out like this cooling blue carpet on the side that I didn't have to go forward or back. I can just like exit stage right. And I went into this like recovery tent and all of this, right? And so, but things were coming up around like the people on the other side who were cheering me on, right? And it's like you want like they're cheering for you, they're rooting for you, you want the approval of those people. And also thinking about me being a check boxer, right? And how that is a little bit of like seeking approval for myself of like you did that and you mastered that. And so trying to let go of like those external forms of approval that we get through the accolades and through the awards and through the promotions, and really start redefining success for myself, and what does how can I approve of myself and focus on that more than like the approval of others. So that was coming up for me today.
I love that imagery of that and I think this is such a good example. I think especially for high achievers because I think we don't think of being high achiever as approval seeking, but there's so much positive reinforcement around doing the whatever kind of things. And how do you differentiate between what you're doing for that praise and that job and you can do it versus what we're doing from like this kind of internally motivated or internally generated sense of like this is aligned with, who I am or what I want to do or how I want to be. And so I think it comes back to also our starting point of like connecting to ourselves, connecting to our bodies, making sure that we're aligned with like with each thing that we're doing. We can kind of check in about like what is this being generated from, or am I seeking approval in this thing? So I love all of those reflections. Were you gonna say something, Ev? No. Okay, so she talks about achievement. She gives the example of grades, sports, performances, or other activities. She talks about also our looks. And I think this is interesting because, there are lots of conversations and assumptions about like self-adornment practices. I think there are plenty of people who engage in self-adornment practices for themselves when it's assumed that it's for some external person or for some kind of type of external attention or whatever the case may be. So I think that's another place where we can reflect on like, what do I really want to wear? How do I really want to show up? Not how am I going to be received wherever I go or perceived by other people. But of course, we're constantly under a microscope, like particularly again, as like Black women and femmes, right? There's always some kind of commentary or judgment about like how we show up. And so I think there's, how do we're aware of this without it over determining like how we show up or how we may hide or perform or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
Um,
I reflected on that because just recently, my daughter's research was focused around um, uh, folks that are non-binary and their ability to move through life with acceptance in Black spaces, specifically around Black non-binary folks and gender expansive folks. And so, as a part of a research, just being a part and listening to the questions and things, it led me to reflect because everybody who knows me knows I pretty much will always show up with a red lip. I always usually try to have myself together in some form or fashion. And I was doing a lot of reflection on where did that come from. I think part of it comes from definitely my parentals and generations before us leaning into respectability politics and like you're a representation and extension of this family. When you walk out the door, you're not just an extension of the family, you're an extension of the Black community. And so I think a lot of that drives sometimes our ability to be accepted into spaces. But then I also was reflecting on like when am I most comfortable and when I'm moving or when I'm in my skin, and it can be both. And I think that's where I'm like the reflection I'm having is like it can be with my red lip well put together, but also fully in my sweats, nothing together. It's also very comfortable for me. And so just these last probably like 2 or 3 months, I fly pretty much every week. Once a week, I'm in the air. And so I decided like I'm not doing anything when I'm getting on that plane. I'm not, I don't give a damn. I'm gonna sit in first class in my sweats and with no makeup on and not care. And then as I'm moving through the airport or I went to the Sky Club, I'm being asked if I play because I've got my locks, I got no makeup on, and I got on like my King's gear. Like, oh, do I play basketball? I'm being approached by other women.
I love that you're now in the WNBA.
Exactly. That's exactly what's happening now. And then also then like me thinking like, well, why you think that? And like the need to like, do I need to change it up? And I'm like, no, if you think I'm a lesbian who was in the WNBA, I don't give a damn. Like, and so there's a part of that I'm releasing around just being comfortable in my own skin and showing up how I show up and not caring what other people think. But I think there's pieces of that I'm continuing to unpack, and I think it's just important for me to continue to do it.
Were you gonna say something, Tiff?
No, I love that. Because Ebony definitely is a face beat every time you see her. So I love this new Ebony 2.0 of like I can just like show up and be and radiating and knowing that that inner goddess energy can radiate out even without the makeup and even without the red lips and even without all the things. So yeah.
Yeah, I think this is something else that definitely shifted over time. I mean, we were raised in the church where it was like you were wearing a slip and the stockings and the whatever, right? And I always dressed with like suits and high heels and all of this kind of stuff. Like even when I was like in middle school and high school through college, probably till I was like 30. And then I was still kind of suited up for a large part of my academic career until I went on my first sabbatical around the time that I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I decided, there's the saying you should dress for the job you want. And so I was like, oh, I don't want to wear anything that I couldn't do downward dog in, right? Like I want to be teaching yoga on the beach on an island somewhere, not up in somebody's classroom with a suit on. So like how I dress definitely shifted. But also for me, my dress has been an act of, I don't want to say necessarily an act of resistance, but a way of expressing where I am and how I feel in a particular moment. So I can remember the last semester that I taught a class that would have probably been like maybe fall 2022. And then I was out by June 2023. But I was teaching a graduate seminar and it took everything. And I was teaching a graduate seminar on Audre Lorde. I love Audre Lorde. I love the graduate students. So it wasn't like there was not resistance to the material or to the students. There was just such a strong resistance of like, this is not aligned for me anymore. And I don't want to do it anymore. And it took everything in me. It was just one day a week, 3 hours for one day a week. And every single time I would like drag myself to campus, I would park outside of the building I was teaching outside of, and I would sit in a car and debate, am I going in like I'm already here or I'm about to cancel class and drive back home? And I literally got to a point where I was wearing like Fenty Savage onesies to campus. Like I'm gonna show up in my PJs. Like this is the level of like whatever that I'm at this point. And so for me, that dress was like a way of me externalizing
Mm.
how much I really, really for real did not want to be there, like showing up in pajamas. And they be talking about the kids, the college students be coming to class in pajamas all the time. But as a faculty member, I legit was what y'all gonna do about it? Like, I'm leaving. So I can, but for me, in terms of where I feel most comfortable, now I actually really feel most comfortable naked. Like if it was normalized to be able to walk around naked and I didn't have to be concerned about being harassed, I really love spaces that like the Black Naturist Association where it's normalized, where like there's a community agreement of like we can be in this space in this way where it doesn't have to be like sexualized or any of that kind of stuff. But or like when my kids are not home, I love being able to just walk around my house naked. So like I love that level of just like, but I also like adorning myself with whether it's clothes or colors or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I would say for me, like with other things, there's definitely been a shift over time with how I've approached those things.
I think as especially for those that are still in settings where clothing is not optional. And
Most
you know,
settings.
most settings, yeah, you're right.
99% of settings.
I guess. Where, you know, but also there are standards around how we dress. I think the permission that we give ourselves, the more permission that we give ourselves, and I leaned into that as I was transitioning out of my last role working in nonprofit, was just when I showed up, you know, as myself unapologetically, and wasn't thinking about, oh, I've got this meeting, so I need to have this blazer and this on. I saw the rest of the folks, especially as a leader, relax too into themselves. My septum was pierced. I'm actually getting it re-pierced tomorrow. It closed when I had to take it out for surgery. But I remember when I got my septum pierced in the workspace, and I had it tucked. And I always wore it tucked. And then one day I was like, I'm not fucking tucking this septum before I go to work. I'm going to leave it out. And then like 9 people at my organization got their septum pierced within like a month of me wearing my septum piercing out. And it just really spoke to like, what does it mean when we're living apologetically as ourselves without worry about fear or judgment? Or what does that mean in this work setting, in these workspaces? And then everyone else being like, oh, this Black woman who's a chief executive within this organization is now, you know, has her septum pierced, has her nose pierced, is wearing her tattoos out, and it's totally okay for me. And she's wearing leggings to work, which I would sometimes as well, because I just stopped giving a fuck too. But I think there is something to that for other people to also then take a breath and go, okay, I don't have to hold myself to this sometimes invisible standards and sometimes written standards too.
As Ebony is saying that, it's reminding me of that AAP conference where you came, Trina, where we all had on and all of our in-car print, not because that's just what we do. Like a lot of the blackity blacks in academia now, we like show up in our colorful in-car prints, and there was like this sign for the conference, and and there were a bunch of medical students, and they're all wearing like their black blazers and their suits and all buttoned up and taking pictures. And then we hopped into pictures doing like our ghetto auntie poses, and they were just like, we want to be as free as you guys one day. And so it's a reminder of me of, you know, it has definitely been an evolution for all of us. I think I have been a little bit more on the freer side when it comes to how I dress. I remember one of Trina's mentors who retired recently was in the same institution that I was in. We were both at Penn, and I went to a brunch with her, and I had this when I had like my big afro and I had on like some sundress, and she's like, it's interesting because your sister's a philosopher, and there's usually the hippity dippity, but her hair is always pressed and she's always got the suit on, but you like have this afro. And I don't think it was meant as a compliment. But I think that has been who I am. And there is something about just like showing up as yourself that gives permission for other people to show up as themselves as well. And so I enjoy doing that. I enjoy getting my in-car outfits, like reaching out to the seamstress in West Africa and having her send me all the prints and me sending the designs. And it is definitely a creative form of expression for me that is healing and therapeutic, but I think it also has positive benefits for other people too.
Yes, I love this theme of like when we show up as ourselves, it can empower and encourage other people to show up as themselves. And I think it's important to name that there are definitely double, triple, quadruple standards for like Black women in certain spaces and white men and other people in certain spaces. So like again, in the philosophy space, your average philosopher is walking around in like a t-shirt and some ripped jeans and some Birkenstocks, and they're still going to be addressed as Dr. So-and-so or Professor so-and-so. And you can come in with your suit on, with your, you know, blazers, your briefcase, and say, I'm Dr. So-and-so, and they'll try to call you Miss So-and-so or call you out your first name and all of this other kind of stuff. So as much as we're like, yes, fight the power and be free and all of that kind of stuff, which is like important, I think we can also name like, yeah, there are different sets of standards and expectations, and then you have to decide, you know, how you want to navigate and negotiate that. But it is something to be navigated and negotiated for sure.
But when you're unfuckwithable,
some people are like, I'm unfuckwithable, but if they fire me, I can't pay this rent. So, you know, this is where, you know, you're negotiating other kinds of things. So yeah.
Yeah,
that
it's
part.
a good point. I say that from all areas of my privilege speaking around. I don't give a fuck what I, like what I look like. They not gonna fire me, and if they do, that's fine. Because I know I have support and a net underneath me that will,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I agree that that may not be. Well, there many truths can be held in this
Yeah.
conversation.
Well, I think this is also an
you
important point
know,
though, like the what are practices that you can engage in that materially support your unfuckwithableness, right? So
yeah.
that you can be in a place to walk away from a situation that is not aligned, or you can be in a position where if somebody fires you because of what you have on, you know you can pivot to the next thing. I mean, I
Right.
remember having this is slight tangent, but I'm relating it in this moment. Like I had a lover who had this attitude toward money of like I can always make more money, right? Like I'm not gonna ever argue with somebody about money. I'm not gonna be like going back and forth. Like he was divorced and was like, when we got divorced, like you want the house, you got the house. How much money you want? Like you're like this is the mother of my kids. I'm not gonna go
Awesome.
back and forth with the mother of my kids about money, right? That was not my experience with my ex-husband, but like in terms of this
Mhm.
anyway, that's another story for another time. I gotta post up. That's all I'll say is I gotta post up. Thank God for the post up, right? But it was a refreshing it was an interesting way of seeing somebody move through the world of like when you know you're connected to the source, right? And you can always access what you need. You don't feel tied down to or bound up with how other people are moving again, whether in your romantic relationships or in your professional relationships. And so I just remember that also helped me with my own paradigm shift about like how I move in the world. It's like, okay, I know I can always do this thing. It doesn't like this particular institution is not my source. Like I'm the
Yeah.
one that has the juice. I'm the one that has the goods, and I can do this in any space that I choose to do it in. So yeah, so
Mhm.
both and like pay
Yeah.
attention. We're not telling anybody to go to work and cuss anybody out or anything like that if you don't got a backup plan.
Don't show
But
up to work naked.
Right.
or show up to work naked or any of those things. But an invitation also for again for comments or remarks like in what ways do you feel like when or how do you feel like you may be seeking approval from other people, or when or how do you feel like you may have had to adjust how you show up in certain kind of spaces or how you adorn yourself, and just become more aware of that and how you want to move with that in a different way now that you've kind of paid attention to it. Yeah. Okay. Well, one thing I do want to make sure we don't skip over when she's still talking about the wild feminine goddess warrior energy. This is again on page 122. She says it's she who's starting movements on social media. It's she who's shouting down falsehoods on the nightly news. It is she who is saying you need to raise your rates. So shout out for raising our rates and knowing our word. It's she who's twerking on the tables and loving her life. It's she who's dancing in ecstasy as they throw tribute dollars. Oh, I went to a strip club. Did I tell you that story of me going to a strip club? The
Told me
tribute
this, but
dollars
I
made me think
told
about that.
Ebony, I'm sure Ebony would love to hear about your strip club experience.
Yeah, just once.
Right.
I'm confused.
No, so she says
It was
welcome
her
and
first time.
embrace.
It was her
It
Oh,
was
first
my
okay.
first time.
time.
Okay.
Okay, so the strip club story. I actually need to do a separate YouTube thing on this story anyway, but I'll share it real quick version. So, I'm at again this mixer, this business mixer, and so somehow we get to talking about I don't even know how we got on the topic of strip clubs, and I'm like, oh, I actually still haven't been to a strip club. I was like, are there even any in Savannah? And they're like, oh yeah, there's a strip club like this one at this place or whatever. So I agreed to meet with this woman and this man that I met at this mixer at this strip club. So we go last Friday, I guess it was, and it was a good time. So, oh, anyway, so a couple of things. One, the dude who told us about it, because he had been there before, he's like, we'll make sure you bring some ones and all of that kind of stuff. So it's like, cool. So we get there and it's like, it was a cash entry fee and he doesn't have any cash.
But
So
he
the
had
woman
told
that
y'all to make sure y'all brought ones.
after he told us to make sure we brought ones. So then the
Okay.
lady's like, well, it's cash entry fee, but there's an ATM. But she was like, it's like $10 to use the ATM to get cash. So if you want to like run to this ATM around the corner, so you don't have to pay the $10, whatever. He still just comes in. And so I had a bigger bill that I just gave the woman to break down in a smaller bill so that I would have money. And then the other woman that came with me had money. So we have our ones. We're ready to like, make it rain for the dancers and everything. So it was an interesting experience. But he literally sits there the whole time, has no money. And I was like, so it was an interesting observation, like in terms of people watching, right? Like that you have this man who literally tells you, like, this is the protocol and then does not himself follow the protocol. So it was just like an example of like somebody showing up to extract all of the visuals and the performances without actually giving, right? So I was very annoyed about that. But the other woman that I went with and I had a really good time. And then it was like, it was a small enough environment that like we could actually talk to the dancers, right? So like after we would like, give the money and everything afterwards, they would come over and give us a hug and thank us and like answer our questions. So, and then it was interesting to see like other men who were in there who were very generous with how they tipped versus the man who wanted to like hold $1 over somebody's head, like it was $100 bill or something, and expect her to like do backflips for like this single. So it was just an interesting observation of like human behavior and gender dynamics and politics, like real time in this very specific space. So that was that story. So I had a good time. I would go back, but not with it.
No, sounds like he's trash.
That part. That part. So yeah, good times had by all. So that's my stripper story,
Mhm.
strip club story. But I definitely like we're in Atlanta all the time, or I'm in Atlanta all the time. So there's no reason why I have not been to a strip club yet, other than like I just haven't.
Oh, we decided because I've been to a strip club once in Vegas. It wasn't a great experience,
Mhm.
but I hear the Atlanta strip clubs are
It's
epic.
like the epicenter
So
of strip
when we
clubs.
go
Yeah.
to Sex Down South, we're going to the strip club too.
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
We've added that to the
Bring your
itinerary.
ones. Bring your
Okay. Yeah.
ones.
And I will say,
do
like Sex
so.
Down South does have the like the Big Bang and the Little Bang show. So there are definitely dancers. Like there are elements that one would get at a strip club there, but it's not the same as like being in a strip club. So yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Oh, and then the last point in this chapter is how to know if your energy power is blocked. And so she asked some questions like, do you feel powerless in your own life? Are you feeling stuck? Are you feeling invisible? Are you seeing things through victim colored glasses or seeing yourself as a loser in every situation? She names worry, overwhelm, anxiety, getting the best of you. And so these are all just reflections and prompts that she offers to check in to see if your power energy channel is blocked. Did you
Mhm.
guys find those prompts and questions helpful? Oh, jealousy is something else she mentioned, like if you're feeling jealous of other people.
The ones that resonated with me the most were worried, overwhelmed, and
Mm,
anxious.
Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah. Yeah. I know she mentions the how to tell if your, power energy is blocked. And she's like, have no fear. There's some goddesses that are here to lead the way.
mm-hmm,
But for those looking for maybe some opportunity right now,
mm-hmm,
yellow is the color of the the solar plexus
mm-hmm,
chakra. Yes, Tip's wearing her yellow. And so, doing some meditation, seeing if there's some solar plexus meditations. Lots of them are on YouTube.
mm-hmm,
And meditating with the color yellow, eating some yellow fruits, bananas,
mm-hmm,
some yummy things for those that do eat eggs. The yolk of the egg and things like
mm-hmm,
that also can help to work on unblocking it while also taking some intentional time around
mm-hmm,
affirmations that help to build your confidence center, because of course as we're thinking about anxiety and things like that, talking back
mm-hmm,
to it
mm-hmm,
can be extremely helpful. This is a solar plexus is an area for me that I'm always trying to stay mindful of and attuned to and have some awareness, which is why I've been appreciating the body scans and the journaling prompts. So hopefully there's opportunity for folks if they're feeling that blockage, feeling
mm-hmm,
overwhelmed, anxiety, jealousy, any of those things to
mm-hmm.
take some time to put some additional care and love in that center.
Hmm. I love that. And it really is, I think, an invitation. It's not like a you're a bad person or you're terrible if you're feeling like I think it's just like, okay, if you are feeling these things, it's an opportunity to reflect on like what is the source of that? And is it for me, I find journaling to be very helpful, but for other people, it might be other things. But for me, like for example, when I knew like that last year, like I have to get out now, and the ancestors was like, get out and get out now, not in another year, not in another 3 years, but like now. But part of the buildup to that was that I was feeling so, and I'm generally a pretty outgoing, optimistic-ish, like everything works out. And I was feeling like heavy. And it was like, it wasn't that there was something wrong with me. It was like things were not aligned. And this was like the way to communicate with me, like, this is not aligned and you need to get out of that thing. So it's not necessarily a terrible thing to be to feel overwhelmed or feel anxiety or feel stuck, it's like helpful information of like, how do I get unstuck, or how do I shift things, or how do I move things around? And so for me, a lot of times it's like, okay, how am I feeling, or what am I fearing? And then like reflecting on like, is this actually true? Right? Like, and then, or what is actually true about this, and how can I move it? Right. And so sometimes the fear might be like, okay, I have this PhD in philosophy and I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm making all of this money. I'll never be able to make this much money or live this quality of life outside of this way of doing it. And it's like, well, no, that's not true, because you've gotten paid to do coaching and other things outside of like your strictly academic things. So you know that you can, so it's like really assessing, are the stories that are kind of percolating in your head, are they true, or what shifts are they inviting you to make? So I think it is good to just kind of tap in and look at these inquiries and these prompts, and then do some either talking through it with somebody, or coaching, or counseling, or journaling, or some combination of all of that to help you shift from that place of feeling stuck to forward momentum and forward mobility. But for me, it's like when I felt the most stuck is when I knew it was time for me to move, because I don't do stuck. You know what I mean? So it was like it was such a counter experience that it was like, oh, this is just helpful information for me to know it's time for me to make some moves. And again, plan accordingly, right? So even with me quitting academia, I'm always like, it's the seemingly hasty decision that was 10 years in the making. Like I was planning for 10 years and stacking money and doing other kinds of things. So it wasn't like I just abruptly was like, I quit it F all of y'all, right? Like I had some stuff in place. So I'm not recommending people just go out and, you know, willy-nilly quit their jobs. Okay, I think that takes us to the end. I mean, she talks about having no fear, the warrior goddesses that we're going to get into. So Oya is next, which is Tiffany's boo. So Tiff is going to lead us on Oya. And then we have Atiti or Tet, Sekhmet, Asazi Ya, Satira, and those are the goddesses that we'll be dealing with in this channel to help support you in moving from surviving to thriving through your power and energy channel. So we have a lot to look forward to in this portal or in this temple.
I'm really excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh,
Okay.
getting the cards
Dang.
ready.
Yes. Well, before we do the cards, I do just want to shout out our description. So this is the the Goddess Glow, the Red Lip Alchemy Chronicles, a sacred space where Black femmes as African descended creatives come together to connect, converse, and radiate brilliance, as you've seen demonstrated throughout our conversation today. The podcast honors the divine power within us, weaving African diasporic practices, indigenous traditions, ancestral veneration, and restorative rituals into a tapestry of personal and communal alchemy. Through bold storytelling, spiritual exploration, and collective wisdom, we celebrate the red lip as a symbol of rebellion, beauty, and sacred sisterhood. Join us on this journey to celebrate our power, honor our ancestors, and glow unapologetically. Black heart, stars, red lip. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like, comment, and share for anybody that you think would enjoy being on this journey with you and with us. And now we're going to get into our cards. And I actually have to grab mine from my room, so I'll be right back.
Okay. Mhm.
Hey, boo.
Hey, boo. You gonna pull a community card and
Yeah, 2 cards came out for me.
well, there it is.
So, um,
Okay.
all right. I had 2 cards pop out for me.
So you're gonna take both, or you're gonna take one and do one for the community?
One for the community.
Mhm.
One is a first card pull, but a goddess who we've discussed already. Trina's boo thing, Tituba.
Yes.
Tituba is the goddess of feeling safe from Barbados, Guyana, and Salem. She's from the Temple of the Ancestors. So we explored, that was one of our first temples we explored. So great ancestress Tituba was an enslaved Caribbean woman who was the first person accused in the 1692 Salem witch trials. She was most likely kidnapped from Guyana region in South America and then sold through a Barbados plantation. It is finally safe to be you. This is Tituba's guidance. You have wandered through a dark night. Your trip has been long. There is light ahead. Your liberation is apparent. The embodiment, you deserve to feel secure. Feeling safe is knowing that your basic needs are met. Feeling safe is feeling at home in your body. Feeling safe is trusting your journey. Feeling safe is feeling free around those you love. Feeling safe is trusting that the sun will rise again. If you grew up emotionally, spiritually, or physically unsafe, then you can reset your default expectations to a healthier vibration. And the goddess declaration is, I am safe, and it is safe to be safe. And I think this might have come up for the community as you were having some of those discussions around, like, don't just go showing up to your job any old kind of way. If you're gonna get fired, don't quit your job if you don't have a backup plan. But Tituba has given us guidance that it's safe to be you, and it is safe to show up as yourself. I love that guidance for the community. And here is what she looks like, holding herself and being safe. And then the card that I pulled for myself, and that was card number 4. The card I pulled for myself is 27, who is a new goddess that I don't think we've met yet. Urzuli Dantor, the goddess of etheric chords from Haiti. Ask Orly about this, mama. So Urzuli Dantor fought elbow to elbow with her people during the Haitian Revolution to protect mothers and children. She represents the healing of the Dark Mother. Her guidance: if it isn't wholehearted love, release it. Remember your worth. Her embodiment: the energy cords binding you and someone you no longer wish to be attached to are strong. You must be willing to let go. Close your eyes, see divine swords of God, goddess loving light separating you and dissolving the cords between you. You are both whole and healed. Just as you shower to cleanse physical grime, there is also grime in the form of energy cords, also called karmic ribbons, emotional cords, or etheric cords. Spiritual maintenance is required. And the goddess declaration is, I am worthy, compassionate, and whole. And so this is interesting because one of my exes has kind of been communicating with me on IG, and I blocked them the other day.
No way.
Spill the tea.
Right.
I didn't block him because he did anything bad, but it was just because like all of these like emotions were coming up that I don't think were healthy for me or healthy for him. And so I was like, you know what, like, let's just like stop this communication. And so I think maybe that's why Urzuli Dantor is coming up to help cut that tethering cord that is no longer serving anyone. So thank you, goddess, for this energy that you are sending to me.
Wow, I feel like how did I not hear this tea before this moment? But I love that you like had some communication. You were like you checked in with yourself and how you were feeling about it, and you're like, okay, this is the boundary, right? And it doesn't have to be some big drawn out thing or he
Yeah.
did something terrible. It's just like I don't feel good about this. I recently, but well, it was the second time I blocked somebody, like somebody that I had some interactions with, and then I was like, I just don't want to be interacting with this person. And then they created like a whole other profile and then reached out again. And I'm like, I'm just blocking you on this profile too. And again, it's not a terrible person. I just like energetically things felt off. And, again, like just paying attention, like this doesn't feel good. So I can pay attention to that and govern myself accordingly. Yeah.
But yeah, this is the beginning of this embodiment. The energy cords binding you and someone you no longer wish to be attached to are strong. You must be willing to let go. So amen and ashe.
Ashe.
This also makes me think about, again, the point we were making in the chapter about how we're socialized to be ride or die or be accommodating. And like, oh, it seems impolite to be like, I'm not interested in communicating with you, as opposed to like, it's nothing personal, but I'm not interested in keeping it moving. And I think so often we anticipate anger about perceived rejection. And so rather than deal with that anger, we'll just kind of go along to get along. And I think, this is why we always like joke around about, but why it's so important to the thank you for your no and the thank you for your yes is like when we can thank other people for their no, it's a way of modeling not getting angry and over the top when somebody says no to you. So yeah.
Right. And asking good questions like, where are we writing to and why do I have to die?
That part.
Right. Where am I
exactly?
Well,
Where are we going?
Yeah, I knew where. I just had a really vague but. And the vagueness of the what is like, I didn't think about it to the moment. But again, this was me
Right.
in my trust Black woman mode. But I'm like, okay, we sometimes need to ask
Right.
follow-up questions there
It
too.
don't have to be a ride or die. You don't
Right.
know where you're riding to or what you're
Right.
riding for.
That's right.
Yep.
Oh,
All right.
all
You
right.
next, Ebony.
Yeah. I got number one.
Number one.
Number one.
Nana.
Nana Baluku. There she is.
Mm-hmm.
All her beautiful goddess energy. She is the goddess of seasons from Benin. The temple is threshold guardians, and the element is air. Nana Baluku is the most high supreme being, primordial mother, grandmother of all the Orishas, and the homie's wise woman, herbalist, and healer. The guidance is you have entered a new cycle that is very old. Allow yourself to become present. Trust in divine timing. Don't be in such a hurry. There are no shortcuts here.
Mm-hmm.
And the embodiment is, are you ready for a new beginning? You are in or entering a new season that will force you to evolve. This is a time of major transition. No shit. You are not stuck. You are holding on to old patterns. Change can be terrifying. Allow yourself to be mentored. When you choose a new path, you are ripe for self sabotage. A commitment test from the universe may pop up to delay this new pathway. Stay the course. Your time is now. And the goddess declaration is, I am limitless.
Mm-hmm.
Good one for me, for sure. Definitely entering into a time of transition with all of the children now graduated and hopefully a little bit more independent as time moves on. And so I got some good thoughts around where I'm going, but want to definitely pause and make sure I'm continuing to stay centered in alignment with myself so that I don't veer off track. So, good reminder.
I love this. I like the connection to what we were just reading in this current temple with the Dahomey wise woman and connected to the Dahomey warriors that we were just talking about. And then even this, when we were talking about this prompt of, do you feel stuck? And this one saying like, you're not stuck. This may be what's going on. But I loved you naming like all the transitions that are happening and how you're staying centered in the midst of the transitions. So yes to all of that.
Sure.
Okay, so mine is number 44, which I've pulled multiple times. I feel like Iset is my Aunt Nancy. So this is number 44. This is the card.
I will say
Yeah.
Aunt Nancy is in this deck and I didn't pull her. And thank you, Aunt Nancy, for not.
Yeah, Aunt Nancy was like, I think we're good. We're good. I think you got it. Okay, so Iset is the goddess of spiritual surrender from Nubia, Egypt, temple high priestess or high priestesses. The element is bush. Goddess Iset is revered as a magical healer and a sorceress. She is of 10,000 names. You may know her as Isis, her Greek name, or Auset, or Aset, or Wuset. Iset was worshipped in ancient Nubia, the Sudan region, Egypt, and beyond. Iset's guidance. Let it all go. Say out loud, I surrender. These words cast a spell. Breathe them in. Release control. Stop bonding around struggle. Hand the keys to the divine. Allow spirit to carry you and fill in the gaps. You don't have to figure it all out. Goddess has your back. Have faith in where you are in this moment. And the goddess declaration is, everything I need to know finds me at the perfect time. I think what gets me about this is always like the
The
baby
baby right
at
on the
the
bosom.
breast. Like the mama energy and the visual image that doesn't necessarily come across in the messaging, but she seems quite content sitting there, right? Like she's not looking exhausted or drained. So maybe just a reminder that we are enough and we have enough for some of the demands that are out there. But I love just the reminder of everything I need to know finds me at the perfect time, and not feeling like I have to know everything in the moment, but just taking one step at a time as I go through different things. So yeah, this is a good reminder to surrender and know that what I need to know will come to me when I need to know it. Yeah.
Love it.
Okay, anything else before we wrap up, goddesses? No.
No.
All right. Well, it was good to see everybody.
It was great to see you guys.
Hear all the updates. And are we still good? Oh, I guess we can wrap it up now. Are we gonna over and out at this point?
Yeah,
Yep.
we can wrap up. I look forward
Okay.
to seeing you guys next week.
Yes.
We'll be bringing Oya's lightning and storms
Yes.
I
to
love it.
you. My boo thing.
Yes.
Bye,
Bye.
goddesses.
See ya.